Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is swing. Let's take a look at some of the definitions or ways that we use this verb. The first way you might hear swing used is to mean to move or cause to move back and forth or from side to side. So when we think of this first definition, you might think of the wind blowing something. As there's a gust, it pushes something in one direction and then maybe it returns back into its original place. A second way you might hear the verb swing used is to mean to move, or again to cause something else to move in a curving line. Now, with this particular definition, you might actually hear it used in connection with a number of different sports. And this is one of the reasons I've picked the verb swing. We're getting very close to the start of the Olympics. And if you're watching any of these events, then you might hear this verb used. This verb gets used in connection with tennis, with golf, with baseball, and softball. And it's that idea of taking a racket, an object, a bat, if you will, right, and moving it in that smooth curving line. A third way you might hear swing used is to mean to shift or cause something to shift from maybe it's an opinion, a mood, an attitude to a different one. Kind of, you might think of like the other side. This in some ways, in my mind, connects to the first definition we looked. So kind of moving back and forth. But this time, it's not really a back and forth that we can see, right? It's something that's intangible. But if we kind of think of things being kind of one side or the other and moving between those 2 points. A fourth way you might hear swing used is to mean to succeed in bringing something about. Now, this last definition's pretty informal. You might hear someone say, "Oh, I couldn't swing any tickets to the big game," right? So they weren't successful in finding or buying tickets to attend this very important game. You should know that swing is an irregular verb. To make the progressive tense, all we need to do is add ing to form swinging. And I've had students in the past ask me, this verb already ends in an ing. Do I still add ing? And the answer is yes. Might seem funny, but that is the correct way to make or spell the progressive or continuous form. The past tense and participle forms don't have an ed ending. We're going to change the vowel I to the vowel U, and this is pronounced swung. Swung. So swung is past tense. It's also the participle form, so have swung, has swung, and you might see some examples of that a little later. Now, let's take a moment to look at some phrasal verbs with swing. The first one you might hear is to swing around. This can mean to turn quickly and face the other way or face the other direction. Let's take a look at an example. I'll swing the car around so that it's easier to load things on the passenger side. So again, someone's going to turn the car around quickly and now have it face the other direction. A second phrasal verb you might hear is swing at. This means to try and hit someone or something, and this hitting might be with a fist, right? So closing your hand, that makes a fist, or it might be using an object. An example of this: the drunk man swung at the bartender. So this is probably a meaning with a fist. So we have someone who probably isn't thinking very clearly because he has been drinking and now he's trying to hit the bartender. The last phrasal verb we'll look at has a very similar meaning to swing for, also means to attempt to strike someone or something. Strike is like hit. So again, this might be with a part of your body, could be with an object. Let's take a look at an example sentence with this phrasal verb. The kids have been swinging for the piñata. Now, you might not have heard of piñata, so I've included a little picture on the bottom right-hand screen. This is generally an object. It's made of paper mache, it's filled with candy, and sometimes as a game at a birthday party or other event, children might be blindfolded, so their eyes are covered, then they're given something to try and swing and hit and break open this object so that the candy all comes out of it. Now let's continue practicing our verbs swing. Today we're going to focus on the simple present and the simple future using be going to. Let's start with the simple present. We use this verb tense to talk about habits and routines. We will also use it to describe facts. The thing to remember about the affirmative simple present is that if our subject is he, she, or it, we need to add an S to the base verb. Now, if our subject is I, you, we, or they, then our verb is exactly the same, so no different endings. An example of this might be, she swings her bat 3 times before every at-bat. So this might be describing a softball player who has this habit. She's going to take maybe 3 practice swings before she begins to play. Now, if this was a habit that a group of people had, I would have said they swing their bats. So then I'm taking that S off. Now, let's take a look at a negative example. To do this, again, we need to pay attention to our subjects. If our subject is I, you, we, or they, then I'm going to use do not, or the contraction don't, and then the base verb. If the subject is he, she, or it, I'll use does not, or the contraction doesn't, and then the base verb. So I'm not adding an S in the negative. Let's look at another example sentence. They don't swing their golf clubs when they are standing near others, right? And that's a good idea. If you're unfamiliar with golf, they have a very big backswing, a back motion. So they could hurt someone if they were standing too close to others. Finally, let's look at making a yes or no question in the simple present. To do this, start with do, then you'll have your subject, and then the base verb. Now, if your subject is he, she, or it, you'll want to use does instead. Let's look at another example. Do you swing on the playground? Right? So this would connect back to the first definition we looked at, so kind of that idea of moving back and forth. Now, let's take a look at the simple future. Today we're going to practice using be going to. And the thing to remember about this structure is that we want to use a present form of be. So for this, right, if our subject is I, I'll use am. If my subject is you, we, or they, I'll use are. And if my subject is he, she, or it, I'll use is. So we've got that present form of be, then going to, and then the base verb. So no special endings on our verb. Let's take a look at an affirmative example. He is going to swing his tennis racket. Right? So we might be using this to explain kind of a plan. We might also use it for predictions as well. This could be being offered as a bit of a warning. Stand back, get out of the way. This action is going to happen. Now, if you want to make a negative simple future sentence, then insert not after the be verb. You can make contractions with are not, you can make that into aren't, or with is not into isn't, but you cannot make a contraction with am not. So let's take a look at another example. Voters aren't going to swing to our candidate. So this particular sentence ties back to that third definition, so a kind of a change of opinion, attitude, etc. The same definition is in our simple future question. Now, to do that, I need my present form of be. I'm going to start with that, and I'm going to use the form that matches my subject, and the subject comes next. Then we've got our going to and our base verb. Here's another example. are unvaccinated people's attitudes about masking going to swing soon? So we know right now there are a lot of people that don't feel like we should have to continue wearing masks. It's been a very long time. And some of the strongest believers are those who have not yet received a vaccination. But as this Delta variant or different form of the virus continues to spread, maybe this opinion of like, "Ugh, I don't like masks, I'm not going to do it," will swing to like, maybe I will wear a mask. Now, let's spend just a few more minutes looking at some words and phrases that are related to our verb swing. And the first word we're going to look at is the noun form of this word. So, same spelling, same pronunciation, and just like our verb, a few different meanings. We're going to look at two meanings for the noun tonight or today. The first is it could be a seat suspended by ropes or chains on which someone may sit and swing back and forth. I've included two pictures to help you kind of see or visualize what this looks like. So the picture over here on the far right side might be something you've seen at a playground, at a school, or in a park, right? Those are some common looking swings, right? A second thing you might see is at people's homes, right? So again, we can see these chains and it's suspending something on which we can sit. So you might hear someone say, we just bought a new porch swing, right? So we know this is the object, the thing they're going to sit on. A second way to use the noun swing is to refer to the way in which an object is swung. An example of that: she needs to work on her golf swing. So this is the type or the way in which she moves her golf club. Now let's take a look at two phrases that you might hear that use swing. One is to get back in the swing of things. This can mean one is trying to return to a particular routine. Let's take a look at an example of this in a sentence. It has taken her weeks to get back in the swing of things after her surgery. So maybe this person wasn't able to move really well, so basic habits, routines were sort of disrupted while this person healed. Another phrase you might hear is in full swing. This is sort of like the height of activity. Let's take a look at an example of this. The fair will be in full swing by Wednesday. So this is sort of implying it's going to be a very busy day. There will be lots of people. So this is just a made-up example, but it might mean the fair officially begins on Monday, but maybe there aren't a lot of events, a lot of things going on. They don't anticipate having a lot of people. But by later in the week, there are going to be lots of activities, events, and they expect a lot of people at that time. So that's why we're using that phrase, in full swing. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.